Come make this felt wildflower bouquet with me as I take you through step by step each flower and how to make it, and we can craft it together. We'll do an evening primrose, a daisy, a forget-me-not, a thistle, an Indian paintbrush, a peach pampas grass, a bluebonnet, and of course some greenery to complete this really fun and pretty bouquet. So this is a hand-cut flower, which means we just start with a strip of felt and use scissors to cut the fringe along the folded side. And it's really important to cut these long and skinny. And what I mean by that is cut deep into the felt, not all the way across, of course, but almost all the way, and cut the fringe really close together. So this will take some practice, but I promise you can do it. We're just cutting long, skinny fringe strips, and when we twist it around the main stem, that will give us this look we want. So we're just securing that stem right in the middle at the top and holding it until it's dry, and then letting it just twist. We're twisting the stem. I'm holding it with my left hand, kind of pulling it up and out, and then that just gives us a good twist around the main stem. Secure it at the end with some glue, and then we've got this pretty whimsical, like dried peachy grass for our wildflower bouquet. So we're ready to make a forget-me-not flower, and this uses a 1/2 inch wide strip of felt, yellow felt, that I'm just rolling around the main 18 gauge wire. I secure it at the beginning and the end of the flower and press and hold until it dries. And then I'm ready to add the petals. So I just have this piece that has a slit in the middle. I slide the wire down through the middle, and then I'm ready to glue it around the center. Now this part's just a little bit tricky, but trust the process here. We're just going to add glue to 2 of the petals, pinch and hold, and they pop up, and then we have 3 more left that we're just going to drag a little strip of glue around and then pinch each of these individually, and this flower will take shape. Might be a little wonky at first, but we'll just keep working with it, and it will just shape up so pretty and cute to make this forget-me-not flower. So we want to do this a total of 3 times. We use 2 more wires that are 22 gauge wire, that thin wire, and this will allow us to wrap it around the main stem. So we just add the glue, pinch around the base and around the center of the flower, and it forms this cute little forget-me-not. So after those 2 extra little flowers are done, we're going to twist it around the main stem. Just twist a few times until it's secure, cut with wire cutters, and then use some little jewelry pliers or whatever pliers you have to secure it so that it doesn't poke you. And here we go with our finished flower. You can just add it to your bouquet and it's super. So the daisy is one of those flowers that has a center and then just petals added around it. It's pretty simple. We do cut a fringe that takes a little bit of attention to detail because it's skinny, but don't worry too much about it. Just practice some on a 1/2 inch wide piece of strip of felt. So once it's ready, we just secure it around the center, pinch and twirl. I just put a little bit of glue at the beginning and then at the end. So here I am just adding glue and securing the end of this strip around the end of itself. So we've got the center ready to go. Now we're going to add the petals, and I just start with a pile of petals. We need about 16 total, depending on how close you put them together, but we're just going to start moving around the flower, putting one petal next to the other, and it doesn't need to be too crowded, but we want them pretty close to each other. So this will allow us to go around the whole center, and then once we finish that first layer, we come behind and add a second layer. And so we're just adding the second layer in between the first layer. So where 2 petals meet, we put the back petal right overlapping those 2. And we finish our second layer of petals this way, and then it's ready for our leaf back, which has a slit in the middle. Just slide the stem through it, add some glue to the back, and secure it as much or as little as you want. Those petals can have the leaf back like pressed up against them, or you can just do a little bit of glue at the base of the leaf back. So this is the Indian paintbrush flower, and it's a fun one. I really like this flower because it's simple but fun. We're just adding petals to each end of several pieces of 22 gauge wire. So I've cut wire in different lengths, 2 inches and 3 inches, and I have a total of 5 pieces of wire here that I'm gluing 2 petals on each one. So I have 1 piece of wire. I'm putting 1 petal on one end by adding a little bit of glue and pinching it around, and if any glue oozes out, I can just cut that after it dries with some sharp scissors. Then I'm switching over to the other end and doing the same, just adding a petal onto the end and holding it while it dries, and then it's nice and secure. At this point, we can add a single petal to the top of the 18 gauge main wire stem. And this is just the top petal right there. After that, we'll add the stems to the main flowers. So we start with the shortest. This is the 2-inch stem that I'm adding at the top. I just twist around a few times, and I like this because we can bend it and face the petals however we want to around the stem, just to give it some character and dimension. So we're starting at the top, going down, and I like it to be skinnier at the top and wider at the bottom, so I leave a little bit more stem sticking out from the main central stem as I go down further. I'm trying to talk about this flower a lot, but it's just not it's not complicated. It's easy, but I wanted to show you the process, so here it is. The felt thistle uses a simple just strip of felt, and I am cutting little slits in this strip of felt that are about halfway across and spaced out to about 1/8 of an inch apart from each other. But I don't want you to worry about measuring. I just want to give you a reference point because I know it's kind of hard to tell in a video sometimes. And this is just slits that go all the way down the strip. They're not super close together like some other flowers we make. Once we get to the end, then we are ready to roll this around the main stem of the flower. So this is an 18 gauge floral wire. I just put a little bit of glue at the beginning, press that stem down to get it nice and secure, and then start rolling it up. And I want to keep this bottom of the felt thistle flat. I'm not rolling at an angle, I'm rolling straight across. So that's just something I'm thinking about as I roll the flower. And when I get to the end, I can just make sure I'm happy with it, kind of adjust it as I go. But then I will add the back to finish it off. So this is just a little felt leaf that has a slit in the middle so the stem can poke through, and this can come all the way up to the back of the felt thistle. Put a little bit of glue, secure it, and then we can play around with the flower and just get it how we want it. I like to push those down a little bit, and it is just such a cute little addition to our bouquet. For the bluebonnet flower, we start with a white strip of felt and glue it lengthwise, and then we're ready to cut the fringe, and we're just cutting about a little bit more than halfway across, pretty close together, all the way down the strip. And this will be the top of our bluebonnet flower. Then we do the same with the blue strip. We put glue along the length of the strip, fold it in half. Make sure your fingers are not in the way of any glue that might ooze out because you don't want to get burned. And then this is ready to cut on the folded edge. So we're just cutting fringe across. Now this is a pretty thin, skinny strip, but we're just cutting fringe all the way down. And just remember, I've practiced this a lot, so that's why, it's easy for me. And this video is also sped up, so it might take some practice, but it just is a really fun effect. So we're ready to put the white at the top. We just start it with a little bit of glue, put the stem down, pinch it over, hold it while it dries, and then twist. And I like to hold with my left, twist the stem with my right, secure the end of that with some glue. And then we're going to put the blue felt on, and just kind of pay attention to make sure that the fringe is facing up. Believe me, it's easy to get it flipped. So we're just going to lay it right where we finish the white, start the blue, and just twist this down. And you can lengthen the strip if you want the flower to be longer or larger, like along the stem. So this is our bluebonnet. This evening primrose is a flower that only uses about 4 petals, but it's just super pretty. So we start with a little strip for the middle, and I cut fringe along that strip and then secure it onto the wire stem. And I'm just wrapping it around that wire stem. I like to put a little bit of glue at the beginning to secure it and a little bit of glue at the end, but you don't necessarily need glue down the whole strip. So we've got our center ready to add our petals. I put a little smiley face of glue at the bottom of the first petal and just press it around that center, and I'm lining it up with the center, so the bottom of the petal lines up with the bottom of the center. Then I am putting another petal opposite of this first one and just overlapping. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's one thing I like about wildflowers especially, is they have a whimsical feel, and we're not going for perfection here. So I just put those opposite of each other, and then I have 2 more petals to go, and I am going to add those kind of along the side to where it fills in the gaps from the other 2. So I'm placing those right below, a little bit further down, almost on the stem, or actually you could place them on the stem. And I am just thinking about, once I lay them on, where those petals will fall. And I want them to come behind the 2 petals in front of them. So this is not perfect, like I said. I just want it to look, well, pretty to me. So I'm just kind of adjusting as I go and seeing what I think of it. And yeah, I like this one. 2 gauge wire, and we add a leaf to each end of this 22 gauge wire, and that allows us to twist it around the middle and have a continuous look. So I'm adding a leaf to each end. Just put a little bit of glue at the tip. It's easy to put too much. Be careful when you pinch it together that you don't get burned, and if you have any glue ooze out, you could just trim it with some small scissors. One of the leaves goes at the top of the 18 gauge wire, and we're just pinching that around the same way, and after that is dry, we're ready to attach the leaves, and we just twist around the main stem like this. So I kind of lay one down where I want it and twist the other, and then just arrange it. I can stop and look and then just keep twisting if I want to, and I can always add 2 or 3 more of these down the stem if I want.